Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiakos and Greek football. By the fans, for the fans. I'm your host, Adi, and today we've got our first winter deep dive for you for Bandiougou Fadiga, the starlet pried away from PSG. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on all social media platforms. This way, you can keep up with the latest breaking stories in Greece and become a part of the global network of Olympiakos fans. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive. So, boys, Bandiougou Fadiga, young, just turned 21 starlet from PSG. Wonderful, wonderful pickup by Olympiakos. Young kid, plenty of talent, and we are going to look at what this kid has to offer. Now, before I get into the deep dive, I just have to let you know our sample size with him is not very large. He only played about 400 minutes of first team football in the 2020-2021 season. He has not played any first team football besides friendlies since then. Now, even though we don't have a very large sample size to compare it to, there are things that we can see that tell us a little bit about the player's ability and as well as some characteristics of the player itself. So we're going to try and focus on a little bit more of that today. But again, bear in mind, because the sample size is not large, it's very difficult for us to really pick apart specifics of what we really think we are and are not going to see. So that being said, let's get started. As we mentioned, Bandiougou Fadiga has just turned 21 years old on January 15th. He is, in a way, a young prospect, but at 21 years old, as a footballer, your career really should be getting started. So he's on the edge of that talent phase, as we say. Now, he's coming into the club at 5 foot 10 inches. For you metrics kids, that's 178 centimeters tall. Weighing 136 pounds or 62 kilograms. This is a little bit concerning, not too concerning, because that's very light. He's a little bit too lean. At 5'10", I expect him to have a little bit more muscle mass than this, and that's something that long-term we should be working on, especially if we're going to expect him to deal with the physical midfields in Greece, as well as many of the physical midfields that are present in European competition, assuming he makes it that far. He was observed in his 400 minutes of time playing as a center mid, a defensive mid, a center forward, and a winger. So he's been spread out all over the pitch, which is nice in a way, even though there was only just over 400 minutes of footage available. We did get to see him in different scenarios to see what we did and didn't like, even in small increments. What we did observe in terms of his ability with the ball is he does have very, very close control with the ball. He takes very small touches and very small steps with the ball at his feet. More than capable of maintaining possession, especially in a tight environment, even when he gets closed down. He can protect the ball well, not with his physical nature, but just by the very nature of his ability to control the ball. When it comes to taking players on in a 1v1 dribble scenario, he's not as effective. Part of what we'll say, the no flair, Ribéry, Robin style of dribbling that he seems to employ is that it involves you taking a lot of these smaller touches, but you're supposed to draw the player into you. And then the second that the player that you are trying to dribble against makes a commitment towards you, that's when you're supposed to change direction really quick to get around him. With only a 27% dribble success, and I mean, when you look at it, it's how he dribbles, it's not all there yet. He's not really good at it. And that will come with time. If this is what he's going to commit to, not much flair in his dribble, then this is something he's going to have to learn, and that only comes with experience. Over time, he'll gain confidence in that ability to dribble past, but until then, that's not something he's very good at. But as a center midfielder that needs to hold the ball and keep close control with the ball, he's more than effective at that. As a passer, very, very accurate. 92% pass accuracy in his first team appearances. Solid. He doesn't really take a lot of risks with his passes. And that's not something I'm going to throw a red flag up because he's young. And when you're young and first getting into the first team, you do tend to be more conservative. You want to impress the coach, you want to prove that you deserve to be there. So you will play the ball more in front of you, and you're not going to take as many risks downfield. So this isn't something that concerns me too much, but I do like to see that he doesn't give the ball away cheaply and that he's pretty smart with it at the very least for now. As far as defensive characteristics, we've seen some comparisons to Aguibou Camara. Now, as you guys know, Aguibou can be relentless on the press, and because of his ability to telegraph a pass and catch a turnover, we have scored goals off of those counters. I didn't see the same ability to telegraph the passes like Aguibou. He has far less numbers of interceptions in terms of the time he has played. And the interceptions he has made, it's not that he was preparing or anticipating that pass. It was more like the pass came to him, whether it was a mistake by the player actually playing the ball, or whether it was just a poorly played pass in general. So I didn't see that anticipation that we see with Aguibou. Now, as far as closing players down, if he gets to a player that's on the dribble and he posts up on them, so to speak, he is very successful at dispossessing them. 74% in terms of the defensive duel success. He doesn't jump. He's patient. Not the most physical guy. And this goes for his close possession too. He can get pushed off the ball. And it doesn't surprise us because he has very little muscle mass. He's a very lean guy. He is not a great ball winner in the air either, both offensively or defensively. It's just not something he's really good at, nor is it something he looks to do. He doesn't seem to get many of those opportunities. So don't look for an aerial threat. When it comes to winning loose balls, he does seem a little bit timid going in for those challenges. That is something, again, as you develop confidence in yourself and your physicality, that will improve. Not something I'm going to throw a red flag over. In regards to his off the ball movement, considering the lack of off the ball movement we have on Olympiakos, it's really good, or at least it's a lot better than what we've seen with a lot of our own players. When he played out on the wing, I didn't see a lot of runs behind the defense. He preferred in general to receive the ball ahead of the defensive line and go from there, whether it was an attempt to a dribble or on the wing. He was pretty methodic, just going to the byline and trying to play the ball in. As a center midfielder, he was constantly opening himself up to receive the ball. And in the further forward positions in the middle of the park, he would receive the ball and he would first look forward. Decent at looking and seeing the runs that were being made. But again, he was quite risk averse in the footage that we watched. He didn't seem to like to take a lot of risks if it meant losing possessions. Again, I'm going to reiterate, this is quite normal for a player, a young player that is just starting to make his way into first team appearances. What we really care about is that he sees the runs being made. He picked his head up and he was looking at those. So, all in all, when we're looking at his ability, his control, his positional control, how he works in the formation, he stays pretty well in position, or at least from what I've seen. Now, I can't speak to the exact position requirements of PSG and what they were in those games, but when it came to shape and where it seemed like he was compared to other players on the field, he seemed like he was in the right places. I didn't see him caught out in the open a lot or with players way ahead of him defensively. All in all, the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals are with this player. There's a lot of improvement that needs to be made. We've heard that he could be for the B team, and then there have been some comparisons that perhaps he could be like Aguibou and make his way into the first team. I am not so sure I see this kid directly as a first team player. Again, I am just basing this off of the 400 minutes of footage that I watched. He could surprise me, but there are some things we need to work out first. Do I believe that this player can be a first team player for Olympiakos? Absolutely. The basic fundamentals are there. The looks are there. The off-ball movement is there. What's not there is some of the confidence and size. I would like to see some meat put on this child's bones because man is he lean, man is he skinny. All in all, when we take everything that we've seen together and we look at this player and we wonder if this was a good move for the club, I believe it was. This is a very low risk, high reward transfer. This is a player that we're bringing in that is going to build with the club. And there is a possibility he doesn't hit. You're not going to hit with every prospect you get. But this club has been very successful with the young French talents it has acquired out of the French league. And if this player does the correct things, if this player can put the work in training, I believe he will do well. It's a low risk transfer. I believe this player will have a future at Olympiakos. I don't believe he is going to be the next Aguibou. I think he is something different. With the positions that he played, as a winger, as a center mid, I liked him and his movement better as a mid. I didn't see the progression, or I should say the flair or the innovativeness with the ball at his feet to be the direct winger we need. I believe he is better as a center mid, and I believe he maybe can fill a creative hole if the confidence can get there. But all in all, at the very least, he's a technical player. He has skill with the ball at his feet. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He won't lose the ball too cheaply. Is it something that our team really needs right now in this current context with what we've seen? I don't believe so. But is it something in the future that could pan out? I do believe so. All in all, like I said, I am a fan of this transfer. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. There will be another deep dive coming out depending on the signature of Joao Carvalho, assuming that it happens and that the transfer doesn't get blocked. So look to this space. Look to see more deep dives, more content coming for you guys in the future. Please don't forget also, if you have not done so already, like and subscribe. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are Gate 7 International, by the fans, for the fans. And until next time, see you then.